welcome to today's Sages Retreat podcast. Normally a good place for news about films, games, and who Katie Price is lining up to marry next, of course. My name is Lee, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Nathan. Nathan, how are you, and where have you been?
I'm better, and I've been recuperating from good old coronavirus that liked to put me on my arse, and it's still kicking it a little bit, but I'm managing to be here today, so I'm a lot better.
Raring to go.
Raring.
Today, we are not doing our normal news stuff, but we've not done out normal for the last month. Today is one of our console specials, which we haven't done for a little while, and I'm quite glad to get stuck back into it again. Nathan, tell us all about these consoles and why we've chosen them. Also, why have we got 4 and not 1?
Well, we've got 4 today because they're all Sega ones, and it came at the end. Well, not at the end, but it leads to the end. As Sega as a powerhouse of the 90s, where it was Sega and Nintendo, and then PlayStation were nowhere, and then it were there.
Oof, it were there.
Yeah, it was. Which, I mean, you wouldn't think. I don't think you could do it these. Well, you definitely couldn't do it these days. Imagine if a console just came out and then just knocked Xbox and PlayStation for 6 and just wiped the floor with them, and then Xbox or PlayStation just went bust.
Yeah, I think the only way that I think that could happen as a serious thought would be cloud gaming. I think if Stadia had become successful and had a good, I think we need a Netflix of games to knock them out. But people just like that console on the desk, don't they? Which is understandable. And so we've got 4 Sega beasts. We've got, of course, Sega Cd. We've got the 32X. We've got the Saturn, and then last we've got the Dreamcast.
Mm-hmm. In chronological order.
Very much so. I did that on purpose. I'm good on it.
Yeah.
Today's consoles, they're arguably failures, I think, for Sega and for the console world in general. But they've got some great memories, and even though they didn't do well, they definitely. My words are a bit all over the place for this. It's kind of hard to explain, but they kind of got lost in history, but still people do remember them quite well. Especially, I will say, especially the Dreamcast, which we'll talk a little bit more about. First one is the Sega CD. We're taking it in terms on things, aren't we? I'll start off with the Sega CD. I never owned one. Oh, I won't lie, and I did want one, and I still want one now because I do have a Mega Drive, so I kind of think I will get one at some point. Sega CD released in Japan 1991. That was a really long time ago. That's like at least 30 years ago. The US 1992, and the UK and the EU Europe 1993. The lifespan, does it seem that long ago? Just as a thought.
It doesn't. No. It's weird to think it's that long ago, because whenever I think of 30 years ago, I think it's 70s. I think 1970s, late 60s. That's where my mind goes to, not the early 90s.
Legitimately, yeah, very much so. The lifespan of the Mega CD / Sega CD system was only 91 which was the first release Japan, to 1996, when it was ultimately canned and forgotten about forever to the bargain bin. It sold 2.24 million units, and that's a lot. As a number, but in console terms, not really a lot. Price in the UK was £270 when it came out, but if we look at inflation, that's £520 today's money. So imagine you had a console and someone said, we've got a little add-on for it that will make it not a lot better, but it will sound better and have some really shit full motion video, but it's going to cost you £520. You just wouldn't do it, would you? The best-selling game on it, of course, was Sonic CD. It sold 1.5 million, which is well over half of the units that were sold, which is quite decent. 7 models, as we like to say, variations were released, including the original model that sat under the Mega Drive, which is like a massive breeze block. You remember it? It looked like a DVD player, didn't it? It was like huge. It was the same width. The Mega Drive 2 model, which sat next to it, which kind of looked like a CD player that like your dad or your uncle would have in their car, just sitting next to it, or like what the crap portable ones always skipped, unless you had a lot of money. The Genesis CDX, which I think looks brilliant. It's like a combo. It has like a slot at the back, but then the CD, a poppy open thing, lid, that's the word, at the front. That looks really good. And if you are listening to this, there will be a YouTube video going up, and what I'll be doing is I'll be trying to pop up pictures and little video clips as we talk. It won't be the main focus, but I think it'll be nice as a visual, thing. That was released in the US, I believe only in the US, 1993. Others I want to mention are the Victor Wonder Mega, the Pioneer Laser Active. These played Mega CD content as well. The Laser Active also had 3D goggles, which I don't think they really did a lot with. So we'll not worry too much about that at the moment. Games worth mentioning for the Sega CD, because let's be honest, I remember a few that were out. We've got Sonic CD, which we've already hit on. Earthworm Jim Special Edition. Don't remember that one. Final Fight. I do remember Final Fight. I have played on a Mega CD several times years ago, and not so many years ago. So I do have a little bit of experience with these. Final Fight, basically a Streets of Rage clone. Brilliant game. You was like this big dude called like Haga. He was like Haga. He was like the mayor, but he also beat the shit out of people. I think all mayors really should have that right as a mayor. If there's trouble, kick a bin over, pick up a baseball bat, just knock him down. Why not? You wouldn't mess with the mayor, would you? No. Star Wars Rebel Assault, which I don't remember, but I did watch a video. It looks pretty decent. Eternal Champions, which originally came out on the Mega Drive. It was a fighting game trying to take a bit of that Street Fighter vibe. Unfortunately, it looked really good, but it was shit to play. I'm not even messing about with that one. Fatal Fury Special. I bought that game, and that was one of the first games I bought and regretted. Yeah, Fatal Fury. It has special pain in my heart, that one. Fatal Fury, which was another fighting game you might not have heard of, or you might have heard of, came out on the Mega Drive. So good. I remember when HMVs used to be massive and everywhere. There was a really big one in Nottingham. If you're listening and you're from Nottingham, you probably remember it. Huge it was. It eventually turned into a Virgin Megastore. Now it's a pound shop. It's just full of shit. And it's got like a downstairs bit which is full of clothes, and they're all terrible. Worse than Primark. And some of Primark stuff are okay, but this is terrible. I used to go in there, go downstairs. There used to be a Mega Drive set up with like a TV, Mega Drive pad. I stood there for hours, but I swear hours playing Fatal Fury. Amazing game. That I just can't even begin to sort of dig into it. How nice it looked. It played well. It basically was a Street Fighter clone, but was done well, just how you wanted it. So there's a special edition of this on Mega CD, which I've never played, and I think I might see if I can get hold of it at some point. Night Trap. So Night Trap and Sewer Shark were two of the big ones that were on there. You might have heard and remember these ones because they were very full motion video orientated. Night Trap had some. It was somewhere between Scream and it was just horror, and it was weird. I did have some trivia about it. Night Trap, which is heavy on the full motion video, was on the end of the bad publicity stick and caused the media to shit themselves. There's a woman in her lingerie that gets attacked in a bathroom, and apparently it was meant to be a satire sort of game, and all the scenes were supposed to be like a bit of a jab at the old Dracula sort of films, and because they're not, you often don't take them serious. They're a bit weird and crap, aren't they? But it didn't go very well. It was even spoke about in the UK Parliament, so it survived, luckily, but barely. And the other full motion video one, I don't suppose you remember this. I think it might have been one of the release ones that you saw in the trailers, was Sewer Shark, and it was like you were you weren't a shark, you were in a sewer though, and there was a dude and you saw his face and he was like, "Ooh." Never played it, probably never will. Originally developed with a very basic audio CD-ROM technology, they ended up fixing it because a lot of the development units actually burst into flames. So they ended up scrapping it, and because it was like a cheap model CD-ROM, they ended up scrapping it all and putting in something that was a bit better quality. Which I think they should have just released them and let them explode, because that was all they were. Maybe better value as a bomb as it was an add-on for a decent console. And the last bit of this section, first of all, I just want to ask, do you have any memories of the Mega CD? I should have asked this to start with, but do you have any memories personally of the Mega CD? Had you played it, etc.?
I didn't play it. I didn't own it, but I do remember it because I think it were in gaming magazines, and there used to be quite a lot of independent game shops where I live. There were one specifically in Castle Market, which is not there anymore. The whole market has disappeared. In Sheffield
So it's not
City
that the shop's not there; the whole market's gone.
Yeah, Sheffield City Council, they decided to knock it down and move it, but not take that game shop with it. But I remember going to this game shop to buy Mega Drive games or whatever, and seeing it in there and thinking, that's the future. That's what I want.
It was though, wasn't it? You looked at it, and it was kind of beautiful. It was that cool cassette era aesthetic, and it had these full motion video, which kind of looked crap, but at the same time, you couldn't get it on your Mega Drive, so it was kind of good.
Yeah, it were all that futuristic CD that I were like,
oh yeah,
this is what I need to get. Yeah, because it's people don't understand nowadays, but when you go from cartridges, big chunky plastic cartridges, to something like a CD, it feels so futuristic. Just that, like, it's like they're not even in the same league, even though at the end of the day cartridges are better than CDs.
That's the funny thing, they are better, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but our futuristic, just looking at, I mean, when was the last time you looked at back of a CD? But just looking at back of a CD, it's mesmerising. As a child, so good.
I want to say about 2 hours ago, because I was putting one in a case that I found. But when you say look at it and twist it and get the light on it, and not in a long time, but yeah, definitely 2 hours ago when I put one in a case.
I don't even remember the last time I touched a CD.
Well, this was a DVD, so a bit different, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh,
totally different.
No, it doesn't have the same shine.
It does. It's like, it's a different colour. Yeah. But ultimately, the Mega CD sadly failed, and there's a few reasons why. I definitely probably haven't got them all, but I think some of these are the main ones. It came at the end of the 16-bit era, and people were they were just ready to move on. It's as simple as that. Not a lot of people were going to commit. The thing is about these add-ons is that it's people aren't stupid. They know that it's an add-on because there's something else over that hill. So if they can wait another year, there's something better. It was expensive. It was very expensive. Like we said earlier, if someone's like, I got a little add-on, sounds a bit better, might look a little bit better, £500. Just gonna go, no thanks. You're not gonna do it, are you? So yeah, it was very expensive, and the Mega Drives, I think, were quite cheap near the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
But of course, no one's going to spend that much on an add-on. It offered nothing massive in terms of gameplay. It did sound better because, of course, it was a CD, and the full motion video was entertaining, but it was shocking. And even those who liked it, like say, would admit the fact that it did look a bit crap. I guess the people that were developing it lacked a lot of vision, and it didn't have enough support. And like I say, it died a bit of a sad death. The only bright side to the CD is the fact that it arguably provides the best Sonic game, which you hear quite a lot of. I have played it, and I always say, Sonic 2, that's my baby, and I'm never going to change from that. But for a Sonic experience, it was pretty good. So that's the end of the Mega CD. Rolling on to the next one.
Yep. And before I move on, I'll just let you know that I like, we're going to talk about it quite a lot, and people probably who are listening are going to see it as like a bit of a theme about why these things failed, and price is always another one. But what we've sort of mentioning is the technological advances that they did. Like nowadays, whenever you think of someone doing something different, you think of Nintendo, like with Wii and motion controls, and Xbox trying with Kinect, and PlayStation with Move dildo thing, control pads, whatever they are. You know what I mean?
I know.
Ping pong ball things. You see them as like someone trying something a little bit different. And they never motion controls, but they've always been sort of around. But when you look back at Sega, I don't think they get as much credit as they should do, because look at the things they're trying. And actually, in an age of cartridges, this is before PlayStation by is this about 3-4 years or something? For PS1.
What, the Mega CD?
Yeah.
What? It's, I think the PlayStation came out like 96.
I want to say 94.
Carry on talking.
Yeah, well, that came out before PlayStation, and it had a CD. And Sega's trying new stuff. They're building on what they've got, literally, by getting add-ons to stuff, which didn't do very well, but because of the price and everything. But they were putting it out there. They were before the time, to be honest. And I think they should get more credit for that, because every one of these has got some sort of technological advancement that the other consoles didn't have at the time.
Exactly, it was new. The technology was coming on thick and fast, wasn't it? And they were trying. They were risks.
They took them risks, and obviously that gamble didn't pay off. But I mean, we're talking about the last 4 consoles of Sega's life.
Nintendo didn't do anything different until the Wii.
Yeah, exactly.
The GameCube was basically a NES, but more powerful.
Yeah, and they don't even if you look at Nintendo's consoles, they always come out after the other consoles of that generation. They never come out before or on par. Xbox and PlayStation are always fighting. They always try and get it out at the same time, whether there's a month or 2 between.
It's like they have their own fight, and Nintendo just kind of there's me as well.
Yeah, they wait till everyone's got their PlayStations or Xbox or whatever, and then they trundle on with the 3 or 4 year old hardware already when it's brand new.
Yeah,
and churn out the same game that churned out before.
It's the same for the Switch. People go on and on about the Switch, but at the end of the day, it has ports of games that aren't as good as the original games. You know, it's like, we've got Skyrim and The Witcher. They don't play as well as what they did. Did.
Who's going to buy them?
It's what they did a few years ago on different hardware that people already own. They already have an Xbox or a PlayStation or a PC, and it's like, I'll get it on Switch. It plays like shit, but I can hold it. You know? Why bother? Just stick to your same old 7 games that you bring out, your Mario Kart, your Mario World, whatever it is this time, and your party and your handful of other stuff. Just stick to it. People buy it. Just stop. They're trying to replace, and it's not. I don't think it's working as well as what it could do.
No, I mean, you look at Sega, and it's done these things before. Like we've been talking about Dreamcast and the VMU, a little handheld separate part of the console, secondary screen.
There are 2 big things about the Dreamcast which were futuristic, but we'll get onto that when we get onto the Dreamcast. But Sega 32X, Nathan, what you got?
Yeah, we've got another add-on ish. It was released in November 1994 in the US and Japan. In Europe, it was in January 1995. As always, we get everything before later.
And not anymore. Not anymore. But then it was. It's just that it took a long time on the boat.
Yeah, that's what I used to think as a child. I used to think, when's my Sega gonna quit get you? When can I play it Mega Drive?
It's only a really small factory, and the boat's so slow.
Yeah. Well, with Mega Drive, they had to pop alt Genesis labels off and stick alt Mega Drive ones on so it were called proper. So, but it was an add-on that expanded the Mega Drive to be a 32-bit console in that interim area before the next big thing came out. Oh. It sold 800,000 units, which I don't need to tell you, that's not very many. It cost £169 at release, which is approximately £340 in today's money.
Even then, it's still pricey.
That's still an expensive thing.
We've just had the Mega CD, which flopped. And then it's like, there's this other thing. Didn't work either.
Yeah, I mean, this. Let's remember, this is the same time period as the PlayStation 1 coming out.
So hang on. I was thinking the PlayStation 1 came out in 1994 in Japan, 95 here. So you were right, but we'll say we did get it in 95. So
yeah, this the same time frame as this then, because this is 94 for Japan, and then I don't know what they were thinking with this. They'd obviously not done the market research, because I can't remember the pricing that we said, because we've done a PlayStation video, but £340 in today's money. I'm sure that PlayStation was around 400-500 if I remember correctly. So not much more.
I can have a quick look. Carry on, yeah.
Yeah, it's not much more, and you get arguably a better, more powerful next-gen console with more games on that more people are going to have. It had, where we're looking, it had two 32-bit CPUs and a 3D processor, which, as we all know, early 3D stuff. This is Lee saying this.
Yeah, sorry, this is I wrote this out. Sorry.
Yeah. But I'm in agreement with Lee on this. Everyone remembers the PlayStation fondly. Look back at some of the early 3D stuff, because it is a hot garbage mess, and it does not hold up well.
No, it doesn't. It's like, oh, we've got this technology. We can take an object and we can like rotate it, and you can have this. It was like what was the Mario 3D World? Was it Mario 3D?
Mario 64.
Mario 64 was 3D, wasn't it? But the world was empty. It's like we've got this massive area because we can go anywhere we want. We can go left, right. We can go back. We can go up. But no, they just didn't have anything in it. And I think although it's kind of, they didn't try too hard with it. I think it's rather cutesy, and I think it works quite well. But it's also very empty. And I think that looking at today's 3D stuff is a lot better. I think it was early days. It took time, but I think a lot of the early 3D stuff was shit. Like I say, Mario 64 wasn't too bad, but it was still empty. You look at gameplay of it, and it's just like it's barren. It's terrible. But like I say, a lot of early 3D stuff, dog shit.
Yeah, especially the PlayStation generation.
Yeah,
because I mean, if done right, you get some games like Alundra Set or even Final Fantasy VII. I know that looks, because it's polygony, but that's the style. And if they made the 3D type into a style and took time with it, it looked good.
It needed work.
Other games just like I can always remember. Same with Mario. The trees on Colin McRae Rally were just like pictures.
It's just a 2D tree that just,
and wherever you moved, it's sort of like so it always looked like it was just a flat picture or a tree, but you could if you tried to drive through it, it was like a cross section, like sort of. Yeah, to say where, but that's what they did with trees on Mario 64. It's just one of them like little programming steps,
like a magic trick. We'll have a 2D tree, but we'll rotate it. So good idea.
Yeah, so it doesn't have as much
big brain shit right there. Big brain.
Yeah.
I love that.
It gave an upgraded colour palette, slightly more processing power, and the already mentioned 3D element. 40 titles. Yep, were produced worldwide for the 32X, and 10 of those were exclusive to the US. That's not a lot at all.
No, it's not. It's not. It's like we've got 32X. We're gonna drag out this console for a bit longer.
Yeah,
could be really good. Not expensive as the Sega Cd. We've only got 40 games, by the way. 10 of them are in America because they're all shit sports games. Probably.
It's weird that they've got exclusives in America rather than Japan, because they were always exclusives in Japan, weren't they? I was trying to get hold of them.
There's I think it's the fact that Sega had the American Sega team as well as the Japanese, because obviously they need some Western side to it. So they had the Americans, and the American Sega head office were like, "Hey man, we need a load of shit sports games," and then they just made all these. We need
Madden and NFL and
golf, some crap golf game. Yeah. Whoever was currently popular golf game, which I need to mention in one of the games. There's a game. It's called Golf Magazine. 36 Great Holes. 36 Great Holes, starring Fred Couples. I've heard of Fred Couples, but I didn't look him up. Something to do with 36 Great Holes and couples.
And magazine.
Could be. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not digging into that one. Not many games. Clearly not a lot of support. And a bit sad. So
it's a weird one, because we've got some of the games listed, and a lot of them are already on. These just upgraded visuals or something like that. It's not. There's not even. I'm not even going to mention really any of them, because it's not. It's not that good.
I'll do the honour then of mentioning the ones that are worth mentioning, and it is Virtua Fighter, because it was the first time it come out and it looked relatively similar to the arcade game, which it did.
Yeah.
But it was that weird polygon 3D where everything's like triangles. And I was never a big fan of Virtua Fighter. And it also had Virtua Racing. Now, the Virtua Racing game, did you ever play it in the arcade?
Probably.
So good. Really good. My favourite racing game in the arcade was Daytona, and I nearly shouted, Daytona! Can you remember it from the arcade? It was just like, so good. But yeah, Virtua Racing actually looks quite good on this console. Because I think it came out on the Mega Drive or something like that. It came out on something else, but it looked absolutely solid on here. And I think they're the only two that are worth mentioning. Yes.
So why did it fail? You can probably guess. It was very expensive. It didn't offer enough in terms of games or technological leap. I mean, a slight better fidelity on graphics. Or something.
It did look a bit better. A few more colours, etc., but it's not enough.
Yeah. The US and Japanese teams didn't communicate very well due to their language barrier. I mean, you think they would have got some sort of better team building translation thing going on, but no. And everyone knew it was a band-aid and that something else was coming. Like we've already pre-mentioned, PlayStation came out at the exact same time. So I'm guessing people didn't... Unless you were a diehard Mega Drive fan or a collector, I'm guessing that some of these 800,000 people were waiting for PlayStation, basically. And you weren't going to spend money on an old console. No,
something worth mentioning, a little bit of trivia, was the Sega Neptune. I came across this information in several places. It was an unproduced 2-in-1 Genesis and 32X console. So it was kind of just smashed together as one console as opposed to an add-on, which Sega planned to release in the fall of 1995, with the retail price planned to be something less than $200, which would have put it at a more competitive sort of price. It was featured in early as March 1995 for Sega magazine, says the console shows the commitment to hardware, but they cancelled it in also 1995, same year, October, citing fears that it would dilute their marketing for the Saturn because they were trying to push the Saturn. Electronic Gaming Monthly, which was an American magazine, and I knew a retailer that sold it, and sometimes I used to buy one and feel really special because I had this American magazine. They use it as an April Fool's Day prank in its April 2001 issue. The issue included a small article which the writers announced that Sega had found a warehouse full of old Sega Neptunes and was selling them on a website for $199. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Right, so my turn. I'm going to go on about Saturn for a little bit, and then your favourite after. So, Sega Saturn. Can you remember how it looks? That like Mega Drive, but a bit like a box, more of a such a good look to it. I don't care what anyone says. I love the look of the Saturn, and if anything, kind of looks like a Dreamcast a bit. It has a bit more of a vibe. I think they're definitely heading. So this is the first on the list to actually be a new console at the time of release instead of an add-on. Released in Japan 1994. America and Europe in 1995, costing £399 on release, which would be about £800 in today's money. Absolutely ridiculously expensive. This was like the old PlayStation 3 fiasco from a few years ago when it was so expensive. Remember that massive PlayStation 3 that came out? That was kind of glossy but really expensive.
Yeah.
Never had a play. Oh no, I didn't have that one. I had the slim one when it eventually came out. It came in two colours, the standard black and the white model, to appeal to women and children. That is the truth. Utterly sexist. I think I probably would have preferred the white one, actually. But they were like, what do we do? What do we do? Lots of men buy it. We'll have a white one, because women and children will be like, that looks less aggressive. I've no idea. It sold 9.2 million units and then was discontinued in Japan in the year 2000. A 32-bit new generation that superseded the Mega Drive and its add-ons. This console was the accumulation of all those bits and bobs that they've been messing about with for a few years. We've got the CD, everything, thrown it into one tiny box and then reorganised it into the Saturn. Do you have any memories of the Saturn?
I do. I didn't own one, but my cousin did. Two of my cousins did. They shared ownership. And I only remember one game on it, and I think it was Virtual Fighter.
It was Virtua Fighter 2 when it came out.
Oh, it was Virtual Fighter 2.
Yeah.
And I remember, as a child, I loved all things gaming console and stuff, and I wasn't wowed. And I can remember it looking very colourful and very triangular. They're the best describing words I could think for the Saturn. But it's one of them consoles that I never wanted, and I know that it had some good games for it. It had some decent things, but it's one of them that there were other stuff at the time. I concentrated mainly on PlayStation, so the Saturn passed me by. But I did like we said, jump onto the Dreamcast, but not as a main console. I went Xbox.
Yeah, we'll mention a few of the. Well, for a start, my memories are zero for this game. This console, absolutely zero. I don't remember seeing it anywhere. I didn't know anyone that had it. When did it come out? So it was 95, so I would have been...
Literally, my cousin was the only person I knew
that
owned one.
I mean, 9.2, I don't know who bought them. Maybe just the Japanese, I don't know. A few games worth mentioning. First, we've got a really good oddity. There was an Isle of Man TT racing game that came out for it. I don't know who thought. They were sitting there like, oh, what do we need for the Saturn? Can you remember there's like they do all the race motorbikes around the Isle of Man? Yeah, let's do. Who thought of that? Daytona USA racing game. Now that was the one I mentioned a few minutes ago about the arcade that came out. Very good replication of that game. Oh, amazing game. Just the soundtrack alone. Sega Rally, another good racing game. Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Cop. I believe that had the peripherals for it, the guns. X-Men versus Street Fighter, very good beat 'em up. Die Hard Arcade, which was not the Die Hard that came out on the PlayStation, something different. The Bomberman. People think and say, I've heard that Bomberman on the Saturn is one of the best Bomberman versions that came out, and I really feel like I need to investigate that because I do like Bomberman. Sonic R, a racing game where you are Sonic and his various friends, but you don't have a car, you just run. So it's a running racing game. Don't know if I like the sound of that. Nights into Dreams as well. Can you remember that like pinky purple thing? It's got like long, weird. Yeah, that was like an unofficial mascot because no Sonic game came out for the Saturn. Its failure. Dev teams ended up being split between the 32X and the Saturn, and they shouldn't have been. The 32X shouldn't have been a thing. They should have all been thrown into the Saturn. Notoriously hard to code games for it due to dual-core processor. Gave very bad low-res visuals and big blocky polygons. So although some of the games looked very good, it was just very difficult to do anything with. Communications, again, between Japan and America, yet being very bad. I came across this twice. Basically, they... Not only would they have a language barrier, they were also very stubborn with each other. Just ridiculous. The other thing, two things worth mentioning. The PlayStation basically came out at the same time. Wiped the floor with it because it'd been advertised that well, and people were just like, Sega, no more Sega, thanks, I'm done with it. And they just waited. They waited for the PlayStation. And of course, we've got to mention that there was no. In fact, can you do that last one because you edited that one, didn't you? What was that?
Yeah, there was a planned Sonic game which was going to be the game that everyone would have. It had a very big hype and buzz around it. Everybody wanted it. It was the reason to own a Saturn, called Sonic Extreme with an X because it was 90s.
Extreme.
Yeah, it was literally going to be the biggest thing in the world. It were going to compete with Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation. Mario 64 obviously on Nintendo, not PlayStation. It were going to be a hard hitter against them, and it got cancelled. Loads of different reasons as to why it got cancelled. It was their first dive into 3D, and I've seen a few videos on it, and it does look alright. It's still got that sort of sideways on, like from original Sonics, but in a more 3D world. Colours obviously more vibrant, and things are smoother. They were even some Italian film I can't remember the studio. It might have been Warner Brothers or something. That all the plans for that fell through. That was going to be a trilogy about Robotnik coming to our world and trying to take over. I don't know what relevance that has to the new film that came out, Sonic's. I haven't seen it, but that's what it was going to be. And the negotiations for the film fell through. Then the game got cancelled, and then it all just died. It went very long after where they discontinued it. So.
I might not put the information on that one. 1994, August 1994, Sega of America signed a deal with Metro-Goldwyn Mayer, MGM.
That's it, MGM.
And Trilogy Entertainment to produce a live-action animated film based on Sonic the Hedgehog and tie into the Sonic Extreme. In May 1995, basically it all went tits up, and that never happened. There was a bit more information, but there's no point reading it. It didn't happen, did it? Sega Saturn, another failure, although it has some gems on it which people love. I have a friend who, Scott, who has a Sega Saturn, and he loves it. I think he regularly goes on it as well. So
I think the people that had it did genuinely love it.
Yeah,
because there were some gems on there that you couldn't get on other consoles, and I don't think it were pushed hard enough for them. It were more all hinging on that Sonic game when they should have really. I think there was Jade Cocoon and something else, some RPGs, Panzer Dragoon, and all sorts.
There was lots. Yeah.
There were some decent games for it, but they bungled it. And like we said, with it having some sort of they bungled it. They messed it up.
Just a massive brown bear come through. Yeah.
Like we said, with technology advances, we've got here with Saturn, we've got a dual core processor, and it doesn't sound that exciting now, but then nobody could code on it because it was just too
goddamn new
territory. It was too new for the game developers could not work it out. The actual hardware to what you got with the visuals, you could get better visuals. I would love to see someone code a game now for the Saturn to see what it could actually look like, because it always got knowledge on a dual core processor, because they didn't know what they were doing, so they just coded it crap, basically. That's why you get them big polygons and rough round edges, because they didn't know what they were doing. So it didn't utilise any of its processing power at all. So it was just too new.
Just going off that about coding for older consoles, there was very recently a new Mega Drive game made. Mm-hmm. Someone coded a Mega Drive game. It's called Tanglewood, and very good. I was actually quite impressed by it. It genuinely is a great looking game, and it just goes to show you that there's still life in these old consoles if you if you put your mind to it. So last is all yours, because I know you own this one. I didn't, so I think it's only fair that you smash this one out, and I'll butt in when I feel like it. Yeah, go for it.
Yep. So we've got Dreamcast, which out of all four consoles, and between two people that live in different areas, basically same generation, just at least slightly older by about 15-20 years, then out of all four of these, only I owned one of these. That's how not marketed well and not handled well Sega, Adam.
And I was a massive Mega Drive fan. Massive Mega Drive fan. Yeah. I was the target audience, but everything was too expensive.
Yeah, they just didn't have a handle on what things should be.
I think I went from Mega Drive to PlayStation. Yeah, I think I went Mega Drive to PlayStation. Yeah. And PlayStation 2, then Xbox. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then with like Nintendo consoles as an extra, just thrown in every now and again.
Yeah, because it's never a proper console with Nintendo. No. It was the most successful, but maybe not. Definitely the most loved console, and the most frustrating because it didn't succeed. It was released between November 1998 for Japan and December 2000 for India.
It was like an afterthought. I think it was 99 we got it in America, and it's like, when I was looking it up, it just went, India got it December 2000. What? You got
this is the linchpin to why it didn't succeed. I mean, they're nowhere near did they corner that Indian market that early. That's the problem with this. They left it too late. Xbox One were coming out and GameCube and whatever at that time. For £200, which adjusted with inflation is £344 in today's money. That seems reasonable for that time. That doesn't seem like £800 for a Saturn. A couple of years before, which that's pretty good. It sold 9.13 million all over the world in total, and it was CD-ROM based with 4 control ports. The weird joypad thing, you need to get a picture flashed up on screen, and if you listen to it on Spotify, you need to Google what it looked like, because if it didn't have the little memory card things that you plug in the VMUs, it was just a big empty hole,
gaping chasm.
Yeah, it was a weird choice, but it was really good. People loved it. It had all sorts of uses, the little box thing, but from me owning it, I remember that the batteries did not last very long, and they was very expensive. So I had 2 of the VMUs in 2 control pads, so one in each, and I never was able to have them unplugged and use them because the batteries was just too expensive. So I know loads of people used to take them out, and I think you could do something with Pokemon, and there was a Final Fantasy VIII tie-in thing where you could walk a chocobo, and I can't remember the other things. There was quite a lot of stuff that you could do with it. It was basically a Tamagotchi style graphics. I say graphics, it was just like a calculator sort of. I can't remember what you call them screens, like an LCD screen,
liquid crystal display the screen, like a calculator. Yeah. So you just had that, which it were really good. But it was cancelled 2 years later, so in 2001. So it wasn't out for very long. In 2009, IGN named the Dreamcast the 8th greatest console of all time, giving credit to the innovations in software for the system. According to IGN, the Dreamcast was the first console to incorporate a built-in modem for online play, which it was, and while the networking lacked the polish and refinement of its successors, it was the first time users could seamlessly power on and play with others around the globe. I mean, I didn't have this option. I know you had a modem. I can remember trying to get it to work, being a kid and not really understanding what the internet were, but because we didn't have the internet, it didn't work, obviously. But I know lots of people who had this and had the internet, because there was Phantasy Star Online, which you could play online with, which I owned and couldn't play it because I didn't have it online, which were a bit wasted for me. I watched quite a lot of stuff on the technology today to try and get a grasp on it, and I won't bore you with the details. If somebody wants to go and Google it and have a look, especially people that like PC gaming, it had a lot of chips and CPUs and GPUs, and it's got a VPU, if you can believe that, in it that weren't a thing. It had its own dedicated graphics card, which the other consoles didn't really have. Wasn't it a Voodoo one that it had in it?
Yeah,
3D Voodoo FX graphics card or something in it. I read something. About it, yeah.
This were packed with so much computing power, and it was so ahead of its time, and it just failed. And it's a sad one because I would have loved to have seen where it would have gone. And this obviously with the nail in the coffin for Sega, which is now. Obviously just a games publisher.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know you're not going to go through the list of peripherals.
Yeah, there's a big list of peripherals. But they've done a Nintendo on this one.
It's like so many interesting things that it was on about innovations, like with the internet, with the interesting control pad, with the the VM unit that you plugged in. It had 4 control ports on the front of it, but. It had a really nice. So I'm very quickly mention a few of them. It had like a microphone pack that looked like you plugged it into the control pad to talk. I don't know what games. I didn't look up. It had of course everyone needs maracas. Plug your maracas in to play on a Samba de Amigo. It had guns. It of course had a keyboard as well. I don't know if it was the first console that had a keyboard. It must have been.
First one to go back to keyboard after. Commodore and all whatever.
Of course, of that kind of old school Russell era.
Yeah.
Broadband adapter, karaoke expansion, of course, only for the Japanese, and something called a Dream Eye, which is a camera. And I'm not really sure what's going on for that one, so I'll not really worried. I did write out the just for myself to mention, the one that stood out for me was the VMU. The memory card that fits into the control pad, custom animations and mini games that are included with some games. I think that's amazing. Genuinely, we already mentioned it, but Sega, with its ideas, that was one of them. I think that was, although it might have not been perfect, I think it was a very good idea. A small list of games to go through on it.
Yeah, the games are the shining stars of the Dreamcast, because there's just so many games that look so nice and just play so nice, and they've been ported since to other stuff. I mean, I didn't own a load of games for it, but I owned the good ones, which were good for me, apart from Phantasy Star, which I couldn't play. So the first one on the list is Shenmue. Now, Shenmue is had one of the biggest impacts on my life as a child playing this as any other game. The only other one I could think is Final Fantasy VII. It's so good. I still quote that game to this day because it was fully voice acted. It's basically an open world RPG where I don't even know where to start. You're gonna have to Google it if you want to know, because it's so weird. The plot, it's like a kung fu film. You learn all different. What's the word? Lee'll know this because he's a pro at this. Like fighting styles, the martial arts styles. You learn like kung fu and tai chi and whatever they're called.
Yeah, that's the one.
Taekwondo and all. You literally have to master those skills while trying to find out who killed your dad. I think the woman that you live with is your mum. It's never really specified. It's just strange. You get pocket money off her, and you spend 90% of the game. Do you know them like machines outside shops that you turn like a metal? You put like 20p in, you turn a metal.
A little what called
gacha or something.
That's it. Yeah.
And collecting the little figurines and like I've got a little Sonic, but there was $200, 200 yen each, and it was quite expensive. And also getting a job, going to work early, racing forklift, but not getting psych. Having a love interest. The game was so full of stuff, and it had a calendar and a weather scheme, which no other games had at the time. So it would rain or snow depending on what, because the game was set in, I think it was the early 90s or the late 80s.
I think it was 80s. I think I read earlier it was late 80s Japan.
Yeah, which they reconstructed Japan, so you get to actually walk around Japan.
That's already been done.
What, on a different game?
No, after World War II.
All right.
Sorry.
Sorry. So the weather that they used in the game was the actual weather from those dates back in the 80s.
Wow.
So if it was sunny on the 23rd of April 1987, it was sunny in the game. And the seasons change. As you get towards Christmas, it starts snowing. It's a bit more grim. People have umbrellas. It's might rain on a day. It might snow. People walk around dressed as Father Christmas with their bells like they do in America, and the game is so vibrant and alive. I mean, we could just do a full episode about the game. Easily one of the best games, and the Dreamcast had it.
It sounds like a GTA, like a kind of I don't know, like elements of it.
Yeah, it's like a real life simulator and GTA, but you're the good guy rather than a bit of a dick that beats up prostitutes and stuff. So you don't beat up prostitutes in this one. Then we've got Phantasy Star Online, which I can't attest to playing because it wouldn't work. We've got your favourite Soul Calibur.
Love Soul Calibur. I played it a lot on this when I lived somewhere that had it. I played a lot of this, and I think it started my love for Soul Calibur, Soul Blade, how it was various iterations of it. Amazing game. One of the best fighting games ever made. I will say.
Not what I owned. I didn't actually own that, but I did want to, because I was fed up of fighting games where you punch people, and you looked at Soul Calibur, and they all had big, massive swords on the back, or like stuff, actual weapons. Yeah.
It was good. It was different. It was different.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to play it. We've got Marvel vs. Capcom, which is another good game. Resident Evil Code Veronica, which I never finished, and that to this day it pains me because I love Resident Evil, and it was quite a good one. Crazy Taxi, which everyone loves, that were an arcade staple as well. I know they've re-released it a couple of times, but that's whenever I'm driving fast in car, that's what I think of, Crazy Taxi. Grandia, which is Steve's favourite, if he's listening. Really, really good RPG. We've got Sonic Adventure, which still goes down, which is a bit weird for me, as one of my favourite games, because it's a Sonic game, but not a typical Sonic game. Have you played it? Have you?
I haven't, no.
The memory card played a part in this game, but obviously I couldn't, because I didn't have the battery, couldn't use it. But it's a Sonic game that's an RPG, and you don't control just Sonic. There's like, I can't remember how many characters there is. Let's just say there's 8. I don't think there is that many, but maybe there's 7. But we'll say 8. It's 8 different stories that intertwine and to tell one big story. So you play as Sonic from start to finish. You'll finish his story, and then you could play as Tails or Knuckles or Amy, which is his love interest, a robot, a cat that's called Big that does fishing, which doesn't make any sense. I feel like I'm missing a character, but I can't remember who. But you basically play these, and you can upgrade yourself. Like Sonic gets these better boots or these ring bracelets so you can run faster or attack more. All the while doing this to get the Chaos Emeralds, you have these things, these little like cyber pet things that you can hatch from eggs. And then, do you know, like at the end of the Sonic level where you jumped on the thing and all the animals popped out, you collect those animals within the game, and then you take them back to where your little pet thing is, and you can feed them to the pet, but it doesn't feed them. It kisses them. It sounds weird. It kisses like a squirrel, and the next thing, it's got a squirrel tail. So it takes on attributes from these things, and there's all different ones to find, and you could use them as a cyber pet on the thing, but I couldn't do that.
I think one of my kids tried that at the park once, kissing a squirrel.
Yeah, it won't end well with that. It just ends up with poorly lips and rabies. That,
or maybe a tail hanging out the mouth as opposed to
yeah.
Squirrel, Dad.
Yeah, you can get. I think you can get Sonic Adventure on Steam, and it still holds up to this day.
There was
a really good game.
There was a HD one released 2010, I think it said. So it's still knocking about.
Yeah, don't bother with number 2 because that's crap. I think that came out for Xbox One and PlayStation 2, but that's crap. But the Sonic Adventure 1, which I borrowed to someone that now lives in Cornwall, if you're listening, I borrowed him the game and he never gave it me back. And to this day, I'm still sore about that.
Is he on your Facebook?
He is on my Facebook.
Tag him.
So, Brad, if you're listening, I want that game back. If you still got it.
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah. Jet Set Radio, which is Terry's favourite, which I never played.
It was so good.
Yeah, I've recently saw something that said it was on a list of games that doesn't hold up well, and I can't remember why. I don't know if it was gameplay or something or some PC thing. I don't know. But it's not one. Have you got any memories of that?
I played Jet Set Radio. It's one of the popular games that I have played. I haven't played a lot.
Is it the rollerblade one?
Yeah, you're like jumping on stuff and then you'd be like spraying things, and it had like really cool music. It was fun. It felt very 2000. So it was just fun. You know, noise, mess. It's like having kids, really. You never know where they are. Put them on rollerblades. You never know where they're going. Could be anywhere. Yeah. As long as you're not on top of the hill, they'll be alright.
It did, like Crazy Taxi, like they did seem to do like a lot of fun games.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you want to attract the older people with like the Resident Evil or you know the Fantasy Star, but you want the young ones, don't you, to come and just bash a few buttons, slide around, make a bit of a mess. Why did it fail? This was a amazing console. Like, nothing comes out now that's this sort of this futuristic. This gives this much of an impact. They'll go like, oh, we got a brand new Xbox. Oh my god, so good. Not that you can buy them, but he'll be like, oh my god, look at this amazing Xbox, and it's literally the same fucking thing. It's just a bit more powerful. Look at this wonderful PlayStation. It's the same thing as the old one, just a bit more powerful. Do you know what I mean? It's just I find new consoles disappointing. That's why I haven't. One of the reasons I haven't got one. I'm sure you'd like a PlayStation, and I'd perhaps like an Xbox, a new Xbox, but I just don't. They're not doing it. PCs, they rule the roost, and these consoles aren't doing it for me. So, like I say, why did it fail?
Well, this is the thing. It had all its ducks in a row. It should have been the thing. It should have been we should have been talking about it today for the reason why it's still selling to this day, but we're not, because of some unfortunate timing, we'll say, and some not even bad marketing, not the best marketing, but its launch window, which is the timing, was the same as the PlayStation 2. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what the PlayStation 2 is, you're an idiot, because everyone knows what that is.
It's like one of the most successful consoles ever.
I don't know if it is the most successful console. I mean, I owned two of them, but because it broke.
Whatever the numbers are, we can just cut it in half, because you own two.
Yeah, I broke one of them while drunk, trying to fix it. But if we do a PS2 episode, I'll talk about that then. But PS2, massive seller. People were waiting for that. That had marketing everywhere you looked. It was PS2 this, PS2 that. It was in every magazine. It was on the telly. That's why it got overlooked.
PlayStation 2, best console, best-selling console ever. Best-selling console. It sold 155 million pieces of hardware on that one. And just going down, you got the DS family, Game Boy family. Well, let's be honest, the Game Boys and the DS they're just handhelds, aren't they?
Yeah.
PlayStation 4, PlayStation, Wii, Switch, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 down there, which I'm surprised. I thought the Xbox 360 might have been a little bit higher. Maybe up with like PlayStation 4 or something, because it was very popular. 84 million was 360. But back on with what you're saying, sorry.
If I had to guess, I would have said 360 were just one below.
I'd say they were very similar. It was so popular.
I owned 4 Xbox 360s, and I've still got 2 of them upstairs.
I don't think the Xbox sold well outside of America and Europe, though, did it? Yeah, because it was Microsoft, and Japan and the Asian countries didn't really want anything to do with it, and they're a big market, aren't they? If you're going to sell, if you're Sony or Sega, you've got potential to sell, because, like, say, they're Asian companies, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they had. But PS2 had a DVD player, which that is a big leap, and that started the trend of consoles being able to play Blu-rays and DVDs.
I think it was nearly everybody that had our sort of age. Their first DVD player was on a PlayStation 2. It was mine.
Yeah, it was for me, and I would bet my life on it that the PS2 had some sort of hand in VHS, but it being squashed even more. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Because, like you said, like 150 million or whatever it were, owned a PS2 DVD player built in, all in one thing. And it was when that all-in-one entertainment systems were becoming a thing. What's the point in having a separate VHS player when you've got better quality DVDs in your games console that's connected to your TV? And it just made sense. So it wouldn't surprise me if that had a hand in VHS taking a little tumble and disappearing. People still hated the Saturn as well, which is understandable. I think a lot of people saw it as Saturn 2. I remember that around the time. It's like, oh no, but Saturn were crap. Why do I want a Dreamcast? I'm going to wait for PS2.
Sega actually considered getting rid of the Sega branding on the Dreamcast and just having it as the Dreamcast, because they knew that people were still feeling the pain from the 32X and of course the Saturn.
Yeah, so that's the bad marketing. It's not the Dreamcast fault. It's the parents' fault in this case. It's the predecessors that came before it that sullied it and made it not be held up as high. EA refused to make sports games for it because they didn't have the full rights.
So Sega. Sorry, I wrote that one on there. Sega actually had a contractual agreement with a software company that makes sports games, but only like a few different sports games. And then they went, "Oh, we need EA," and EA turned around and went, "Well, we want to make all of your sports games because they do make a lot, don't they? We want to make all of your sports games." And of course, Sega turned around and went, "Yeah, you can't. We've got this other company, this lesser known company that actually turned. They did. I think they changed their name at some point, and I think they still make games now. But and EA just went, all right, we'll leave you to it then." So no DVD, no EA, bad launch window, obviously PS2. The legacy of the previous consoles and add-ons, it all added towards this very disappointing failure. And it makes me sad a little bit. It's the only one of those that makes me a bit sad. Because I'm like, I do know someone that had one, and they used to go on about it all the time. It's so good, it's so good, it's so good. And like I said, I did play with one a fair bit. But just the fact that, could they have not lived side by side in some form? Maybe not.
I'd like to see some alternative like dimension reality where it did well and it did it, and where Sega would be today. Do you know, like, would they still be making consoles? Would the Xbox not be a thing, or seeing as they would still Nintendo Sega fights or PlayStation, or what? How would today's gaming landscape look if we would have if we'd not lost Sega to making just games, to being a publisher now, making bad Sonic games?
I think it's very interesting to see the downfall. That sounds really bad. But
and in hindsight, looking back, when like we've wrote this out, we've looked at this, you can see the bad steps that they're taking, and it's like, could they not see it? And it's like you said, there were a lot of trouble between both the studios, the Japanese and American, which Americans are known for being pig-headed and stubborn, but so are Japanese, that they want to do it a certain way.
Two very different cultures.
Yeah, and I could tell that's now just looking at it, you can tell that that's not the best partnership to have. Maybe they should have just kept one studio or let one studio overrule the other, probably Japanese one, to be honest. But you'll never know. We end up losing them.
I listened to a podcast called Abroad in Japan, and there was a story about there was on a train, and Americans or British people, their voices are a good volume, and they're talking, they're chattering away, and some little Japanese woman had turned around and basically told them to shut up because it's rude to chatter on trains. And I'm like, that's just a great way of looking at this Japanese and Western relationship of they just don't gel. They just don't gel. It was all going wrong, and it all went to itself. I've had a nice time just chatting about these and looking into the information about them. I missed out on these, and I always wanted a Dreamcast, and I wanted a like I say, make a CD, and I am a bit sad I missed out on them. But so that's from 91 to 2001. That's 10 years worth of Sega there.
Yeah,
they definitely
circling the drain.
Just like
10 years.
A little bit dropping off every now and again. But it's been good, and it's been good getting back on with you, Nathan. I think I've missed our chatting. I think should get a bit more organised and get back on. And if you're feeling a little bit better, we'll get something sorted. Like I say, if you are watching the video, I'll hopefully have this. I won't give a date on when it's coming out just yet. But I'll have some video bits, and I'll try and include the original trailers for these add-ons and consoles, because some of them are so good. Probably not so much the audio, but I'll definitely have some of the video for you. Very, very good to watch them. So yeah.
Yeah. Right then, thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed yourself with all the Sega chatter. Remember that you can catch us here on YouTube and on various podcast platforms, including the popular Spotify. Don't forget to smash that like button and share with your friends, because they know they need somewhere to retreat, and we know that this is the right place to be. So it's a lovely thank you very much from me.
And it's a thanks and a goodbye from me as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.